Hello everyone, and welcome back to SIMseniors, to Season 5, and to a very exciting race ahead. It's going to be a good one tonight. Of course, if you joined us last week for the Intercontinental, then thank you and welcome back, because we've got some good racing. It is the penultimate round of the Season 5 Championship, both Group 1 and Group 2. So there's going to be some championships to fight for, some races to be decided, and we have got some drivers who are going to be staking it out tonight to potentially see about sealing their championship runs. But where are we going tonight? We are going, as you can see by the title and by the screen, we're headed to Oulton Park, and what a park it is. It's one of those tracks, it's one of those UK tracks that doesn't always get the love that it deserves, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Oulton Park, and the 17 corner circuit is going to play host to all three classes of drivers tonight. Remember, bronze, silver and gold drivers all out on the field. It's multi-class. And once we have our 50-minute qualifying, we've got a 60-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. You can get tyres as well. Tyres are optional, but the bigger and more pressing thing is the fuel. And that's where we've seen some drivers trip up in the past. You don't want to be caught out lacking the fuel load that you need. But 17 corners, 4.3 kilometers, and a pretty special racing circuit. I remember always being one of my favorite tracks. When I first got into racing, there was a little copy of a video game called Toka Race Driver 3, and this was by far my favorite track on that game. So it's good to be coming back home, coming full circle and seeing these racers put it all out there and see who goes on top. In terms of your standings, we have Mark Hughes leading the gold class, the Ferrari 296 GT3, looking very powerful and currently sat quite a large amount of points away from Alex North in the Vantage. Goddard is going to be in third place, and then you got Chris Wilson, someone who has taken quite the upswing in performance. It's going to be an interesting fight at the top. Now, this could potentially be an opportunity for Wilson to snag a podium tonight. We have seen his performance in these last couple of races really show his strength. He's come into his own without a shadow of a doubt. So let's see what we can do here tonight. You got Paul Wallace leading the silver class, who's going to be denoted by the grey driver numbers. And alongside Dorigo in the Ferrari, Paul Murray is going to be making the third spot. A little bit tighter of a spread of points. You've got 410 points for Wallace, 359 for Sergio Dorigo, and Paul Murray with 324. So a little bit of a tighter fight in that regard, but still plenty of chances on the table. And then you've got Kevin Walker with Conrad Payne and Frank Tennant in that beautiful Bentley in the top three for the bronze class, denoted by the driver numbers in red, which you'll be able to see soon enough and in due time, folks. But for now, let us know who you have got your eyes on as we jump into the penultimate round of Season 5. I'm personally going to keep my eyes on a few different drivers. Of course, we've got free practice ending in just a second, and then we will be going trackside to see what these racers can do. Just dialing in their final setups, and then it will be showtime and go time, as free practice has officially ended and qualifying is about to begin any minute now. So everyone's jumping back into the pits, and we will be seeing our racers about to begin. Let's see what they can do, but for now, SIMseniors is on. It's round 9 of 10, and let's make it happen. We jump aboard the helicopter as we take a look at the driver who is at the front end of the pit lane. It's going to be Chris Wilson, the number 49 car, looking very sharp as always, alongside all of the other cars who are really going to be putting some work in tonight. There's going to be some podiums up for grabs, depending on the performances of these racers. And I, for one, can't wait to see what happens. But there you go. Qualifying has begun. It has officially begun. We have 15 minutes. It's a shootout. And right out of the gate, we've got Paul Murray being the first car out on the field. He wants to get out ahead of the rest of the queue in order to get a clean run down. You can go for easily a few laps before having to retreat back to the pits. Get those tyres up to temp, run your car lean, and let's see what they can do. We've got quite a few different areas of this track which drivers are going to have to work hard to nail, because there is a lot of speed you can carry, but also you have to be very wary of the curbs, very wary that overstepping just a little bit will take you into the grass, and it will very much it will mean a no good run. For instance, right here, you've got the Knickerbrick chicane. So added in to the circuit. Paul Murray looking a little bit dicey on the exit of that. Practicing a little bit of full push before we head down to last couple of corners before the start of his lap in full. Melon for a crash or two, you say? Ye have little faith. Let's see what we can do here. 13 minutes in, we have our first runner out on the field. It's going to be Paul Murray in the silver class. Let's see what he can do here. Down, in, through Dentons before Cascades. Heavy on the brakes. Go down the hill. Control the pace of your car. Let it roll through that corner. Looking nice and clean. Hit it into the island bend just before Shell. So jumping on the brakes just after the orange marker for the Marshall's entry and exit. Use the banking of these corners. That's the great thing about Oulton Park here. Some of the corners are banked. You can really lean into the grip on your tyres on the outer side. It allows you to get so much pace. If you nail the line, you fire your car in there. Meanwhile, coming back up to, say, turns 10 and 11. Got to quickly dive back out as soon as you've made that chicane, because you need to get the apex of 12 again. Then you can roll back onto the throttle for the final sector, through Clay Hill now, and then into the slight bend of 14 before you jump into Druids. Looking nice and clean from Murray here. He's not washing wide. He's keeping it tight. He's keeping it within the circuit. And as we come round, final corner here. So Deer Leap actually taking a slight bend to the left, and that is lap complete. What's it going to be for Murray? It is going to be a 35.1. That is your initial benchmark out here tonight, folks. Let's see who else can come through. Conrad Payne, he's going to be coming through with a little bit slower of a run, 37.2. 35.9 coming from Mike Pollock. Then you've got a couple of other cars here. You've got Pete Smith, who is going to be leading a fairly substantial queue of drivers as we come through the final corner now. So here we are coming up to the line. So Smith is going to get P7 as the two immediate drivers behind him, Payne and Goddard, are going to be getting much faster. About 0.7 of a second, in fact. A few more cars to watch. And then around the other side of the circuit, we've got another Ferrari. That's going to be McKillop. Currently sat pretty comfortably. He's got a little bit of space of his own. Currently sat P10 in the championship, but he could overtake Mitchell if he does well tonight. Now keep in mind, we've only got 25 cars out here tonight, so we are missing a majority of the roster. There's going to be certainly a bit of a struggle for some, but for others, this is a prime opportunity to get some big points. As McKillop coming through P2 with a 35.4. So far, Murray leads the charge with a pretty strong display, I have to say here. Barry Finlay, another driver we're going to keep an eye on, another silver runner. As we're seeing some of the bronze cars also start to come through. Bull and Broadbent, 4 seconds and then 4.5 respectively. Currently leading the bronze charge is Walker, doing very well for himself there. As you see, Carl Thompson is just coming through right there. He's going to jump into P5. Walker being displaced down into P6, but he's not taking that one lying down. It's looking like he's going to go for even more improvement on this run as we come through. Final couple of corners now. Delta looking very strong. Let's see what he can do. And up to the line now. He's going to jump up into P6 once again. He got displaced by a few silver and pro drivers, but now he's back in it. Unfortunately, he is not dealing with the best of situations because from what we've been told by the chat, Ferraris are not that powerful. They're a bit on the weaker side of the balance. Their maneuverability is pretty strong. It's a good all-rounder, but it doesn't quite fit in here at Oulton. Not getting those same grippy corners. But saying that, out of the 7 spots at the top, 5 of them are Ferraris. So, at least for the time being, it seems to be doing well. Colom into the start-finish line now. He's going to get an improvement of about half a second, but that's only going to be enough for a single position. The grid spread so far is pretty wide, all things being said. You've got coming through and up to the line just past now. That's going to be centre. He's going to be in the Lamborghini. In fact, only driver to be doing so out on track today. We've now got a 26th driver joining in. That is going to be Bettini. There's going to be a few more drivers who have yet to take their rightful place in the standings. We're coming up to the halfway point, folks, and as Centec goes around, let's take a quick look at the times. Key things to note, Carl Thompson, he's made a big jump up the field. He currently leads the pack with a 34.3 flat. Best Sector 2 and 3 times, looking like an absolute rocket. Meanwhile, Mark Pollock has the domination over Sector 1, and it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for some other drivers coming through. So, for instance, you've got North currently in P4. He's just jumped up there after a decent improvement on his time. You've got a couple other gold class drivers, and then Walker currently up in P10, leading the charge for the bronze. Pollock in 3rd, looking very fast, proving that although he's currently in silver, it may be looking a little bit of a class adjustment in the future. Who knows? Let's see, back on board with centre now. Got to put down a decent lap here, if nothing else than just to get on these boards. Finlay's going to go into P19. What can centre do? He's going to be P21, 38.4. So a time is on the boards, but he's going to need a little bit of an improvement. He's leapfrogged a couple of other bronzes, but he needs to get at least a 10th faster if he wants to jump Smith in P20. There are a couple other drivers who we want to take a quick look at. I'm going to keep an eye on Chris Wilson because he's coming up to the last couple of corners here. He could be on track to take the pole position here at Oulton Park. Round the final corner, arcs it a bit wide, carries the speed, and he's done it. 34.2 here for the Aston Martin, looking very sharp. How is Thompson going to respond to that? We'll see fairly soon. Goddard, meanwhile, he's just come across the line, goes into P8. Looking very nice for him there. Walker, unfortunately, has not made an improvement. He's just come through also. And then you've got Dorigo, currently P2 in his respective championship. And he's going to be in a little bit of his own fight and a little bit of his own space. P19, Wallace to beat. Coming through now. P7 he wants. He jumps up, but only to P11. So he currently sits about a second away, 9/10 of a second, sit between himself and Wallace up in that number 282 car. Meanwhile, you jump through and we can see Carl Thompson, unfortunately, doesn't look like he's making the improvements he was wanting. He's 3 seconds down, and his lap has in fact been invalidated. So he's not going to be taking home that flag, at least on this lap. He's going to prime himself for the next one. A couple other drivers to look at. Peter Smith, currently P16 and second place in the bronze class. Let's see what he can do here as he rounds the final couple corners. He's going to take the pace and convert it. It is going to be an improvement, but with 0.7 of a second required to beat Vissery in the 15th spot, it's just not enough here. Unfortunately, it's just not enough of an improvement to make it work. You got North, runner-up in the gold class. Coming up to the final couple corners now, is looking positive on the Delta. As we switch views here, you can see 0.3 of a second, looking to push even further. What can he do? Half a second up. Let's see. Up into P2. Very nicely done there from the Aston. 34.1 is the current time. Wilson holds 33.6. So quite the mark being left on this track. Another Aston Martin to watch. Gila. Looking very sharp. Looking very quick. Currently P4. And while Murray is up in P6, the driver above him in the championship, let's see what he can make of it here. Delta's looking very positive and does make that move. He's up into P10. Remember, folks, we're coming into the last few minutes of qualifying here, so we'd love to hear out of everyone who you think is going to take the lead, not just of the session, but who is going to be taking the top spot in each class. And as we currently stand, Wilson is the one leading the Pro, aka Gold. You have Pollock in P5 overall, but leading in the Silver class. And then Walker, currently sat P12, but with a really strong initial run. It's going to be the driver to beat in Bronze. Going to come up and through the final corner, but it's not going to be an improvement for him, sadly. 36.2, quite a bit off-piste, but maybe this lap is going to be the one for him. Maybe this lap is going to be the one. We'll have to jump back to keep an eye on him. But for now, Melon was one car that was speculated on earlier in the race. He's got a bit of a paint job on him. That car looking very striking. Exploding Cable. Interesting team name, but I'm here for it. Either way, coming up to the last... Loving the car, loving the speed. What can he make of this run? It's a good jump. It's up into P6 for Melon. He makes himself P5 in gold. P6 overall. Pretty sharp performance. Who else will we see making some moves? Remember, we've still got two. Oh, hello. That's one way to retire back to the pit lane. We have two cars left yet to put times on the board, and with only 1:30 to go, time is of the essence. Divatini and Tennant yet to place. I know Tennant doesn't really run in qualifying, usually starts from the back, but Divatini, he's going to need to get out there. And while he is out there, is he going to be in time? Part of me wonders why it was left until this point for him to set a lap, or maybe those prior attempts didn't really go his way. Either way, let's see. It's going to be P18 for Divatini. It's going to jump all the bronze runners. Let's see, another car who is up near the top end of the field. Pollock has a chance to get P5 here. But is it going to be enough? It's going to be close. 0.417. He's just 22 thousandths of a second off of Hughes. Unfortunate for him there. But he's going to remain in P6. Unless he remains committed to this run, which he seems to be. That could be curtains for his efforts here. Most drivers are now back in the pit lane as the checkered flag is about to fall on this session. We've got Paul Wallace, meanwhile, as he comes through Hislop's Knickerbrook and into the hill. It's going to be a very quick sector. Delta looking very healthy right now. If he keeps this run up, he could jump into as far as 5th position, if not further. All he needs to do is bring this run home. Ferrari is looking a little bit skittish. Noticing the Ferrari drivers don't seem all that confident on the brakes, but there you go. The checkered flag has fallen in a quali. It's going to be the final run judgment call. Wallace doesn't get that full send in the final sector. It's only going to be P7 for him. Meanwhile, you got a couple of other cars coming through. Dibittini, he's going to be coming up, but I don't know how his run has gone. He's going to be going into the pit lane. No finish for him so far. Dorigo coming up to the line. It's going to be across. It's going to be an improvement, but no places gained. McKillop, another driver, as we're going to the final 4-5 cars making it through. Pollock is going to be making a big jump. He's going to go into P2, and without a shadow of a doubt going to be leading the class, leading the charge. Gieler's going to go into P9. Then you've got Tony Hill coming around the final corners now. Looks like some moves really could be made from this Ferrari. Let's see what he can do. Up into P9, leapfrogs Gieler by just under half a tenth. And that is session over, folks. You have Chris Wilson looking very fast and looking very comfortable in that Aston. 33.605. Very quick indeed. With a 133.7, it's going to be Mike Pollock leading the silver class. And then in bronze, you have Kevin Walker with the number 330 Ferrari with a 35.4. Looking live. Look sharp, folks, because this is going to be a pretty insane race, all things considered. Noticing a few absentees, but it's going to be great all the same. Now, we shall see where this goes, but for now, we're going to take a short break as we get ourselves trackside and we get ourselves ready for race time. Do not, and I repeat, do not, folks, go anywhere. It's going to be good. We'll see you in just a few minutes. And welcome back, folks. Thank you for your patience, and we are now about to get things underway. Let's see and take a look at our grid, and you can see the beautiful lineup of cars that are about to take it for 60 minutes around this circuit. You've got 30 seconds to go before the outlap begins. Drivers just confirming and locking in their setups right now. But you've got Wilson leading alongside Pollock with a starring run out into that P2 spot and leading the silver class by quite a substantial margin. Meanwhile, you've got a few other drivers that we're certainly going to be keeping an eye on through the field. Thompson with a very good run in and of itself. North jumping in. Murray, Hughes, Wallace, Mellon, Hill and Gieler making your top 10 with Goddard, McKillop, Walker, Vissery, Devine, DeRigo, Finlay, and then you round off the 11 to 20 spots with Dibatini, Smith, and Colomb. But enough time about that. It is go time. And now, the drivers are going to be forming up for the outlap and formation, ready for the race. As a reminder, folks, 60 minutes, one mandatory pit stop. Fueling is required, and then if you choose to take tyres, that's up to you. I'm not sure about the viability of tyres or the tyre life when it comes to Oulton Park. I can't really say. There's a bit of a trade-up between the time that you lose in the pit lane and the time that you lose from worn rubber. That's always what it is when it comes to the trade-off between drivers. So the timings and when you take your pit stop as well, being observant of traffic, that is going to be a differentiator and what separates you from the top spots, the single digits or the doubles. We have 26 cars out here tonight, folks, and you've got quite the set of runners, quite the set of fields. Looking like there is a little bit of an issue with one of the cars, so we have just gone down to 25 there. Not really sure what's happened, unfortunately, but we saw a little bit of an issue with one of the cars, so 25 starters. We're rounding the field. Chance for everyone to get their cars up to operating temps. Get themselves in the state of mind, the frame of mind. Ready to go racing. It is a battle of wit, a battle of attrition, and a battle of speed here tonight. I wouldn't be surprised to see everyone going in for a set of tyres, because this does have a lot of corners that rely on the mechanical grip quite a lot. Your aerodynamic grip and your mechanical grip, they work in tandem, but they're two separate things. A lot of the chicanes, a lot of the heavy braking zones, especially heavy braking zones when you're going up and down the hills through some of these corners, trailing the brakes even a little bit, you're going to be burning those tyres up, I think. I think the strategy is definitely going to be in favour of fresh rubbers. But we'll, of course, see. That's my prediction. Let me know what yours is going to be. We're coming up to the line now. Green flag is about to fall. And let's see what these drivers are made of. Group 2, round 9. And it is a green flag. Track is hot here at Oulton Park. It is all lights a go. And immediately we're seeing a big rush from Wilson. He's trying to get his position up. He's trying to get the push on. And Hughes is going to be around the outside looking to get this position on. Oh, big contact. That is Pollock round. Pollock swipes across the side of Thompson. I think Thompson is okay. Oh, no, that was Murray. No, we're going to have to get a replay of that. No doubt about it. Immediately we're seeing things kick off, so let's take a bit of a rewind. No, that was North. He made contact with North coming across, and that has put Pollock down right to the back of the field. North has managed to recover himself, but he's down in a P12, and carnage has already amassed this field. The big field spread has become quite apparent. Immediately through all of this, we're noting some big takeaways. You've got Peter Smith, who has jumped down to P16. You've got some big gaps in the rest of this field, as everyone's just trying to get their bearings, trying to get some open space here on this track. You've got the McLaren right there. The McLaren of Finlay not looking too hot. He's got Conrad right on his heels. And him and Smith are both sitting there with drive-through penalties. Things are very much looking a bit frustrating for some. We see Thompson, however, along with Hughes and Wilson, they've managed to get a clean break from the rest of the field throughout all the carnage behind them. Through all the carnage behind them, they've managed to get a clean breakaway. And that's exactly what they want at the end of the day. Let's see if Finlay Smith are going to go in immediately to serve their drive-through penalties, get that off their record. Kevin Walker is going to be under a little bit of pressure, as now he needs to get the move past Quinkellenberg, but Quinkellenberg's going to do it for him. He's off into the sand. Walker's going to get free P17 as Carnage kicks off behind. That is... I don't even know what's going on at some places of this circuit. You've got drivers who are going right off into the infield. Pollock is around and back off. Looks like a little bit of an unsafe rejoin by the McLaren there, which resulted in, no doubt, a bit of carnage. We jump back to the front end of the field and into the cusp of the single-digit positions. We've got Hero, who is chasing down that number 992 car, continuing to look scary, to look fierce. I know it's stock looking, but man, if that black and red just isn't really doing it for me. This is a combo that screams, I am a silent but scary driver. So here we go, Hero. He's going to watch and lie in wait. So let's see what he does here. As we go through this next lap, he's going to be watching the movements of Goddard and Gila. Waiting for them to make mistakes, waiting for them to make an opportunity for him, with which he can then take into a position of his own. See the gaggles of cars coming through. Hero's going to be lying in careful watch of his opponent just up ahead. Meanwhile, you jump further up, you got P2 for silver. It's Paul Murray. He's trying to chase Wallace to take the top honours for his respective field. But it's not just quite happening yet. In fact, Wallace is opening up the gap. And this is going to put him under immense pressure here. And oh, hitting the bollard. And that is Wallace out into the wall. I don't really see what happens there. So let's see. Let's get a bit of a rerun. Of course, going through the chicane. Oh, just a little bit too wide. And he's out onto the grass. Gentle into the barrier. Luckily, no damage being picked up, it seems, there. But down into P11. That is a brutal hit to his race effort so far. And so far, Murray is now going to be owning the silver class. Next driver is over 3 seconds away. So he's got a safety buffer, and Mellon being down in P5 means that he's got a car between himself and his next class competitor. No doubt something he can use in his race strategy. See Goddard coming through a little bit sideways through that first corner. So we'll come out and cascades into the island bend. Let's see if he's going to do anything here or if he's going to play a bit more defensive. Remember, he's got the juggling act of all time. We've got on the back of him, Hero is chasing down and chasing hard. But meanwhile, Goddard is so close to getting that P7 and starting to claw back some of those gold class spots. We jump a bit to the bronze side of things. We've got Mike Bull, P15. He's going to be trying to chase down Conrad and seeing who can take the lead of the bronze runners. Because remember, the lead in Kevin Walker is all the way down in 17th right now. I think he got caught up in the chaos of lap 1, but he has seen a major positional drop. And he's currently sitting down right behind center. Looking so close, but you think he's going to have it, just coming out of the chicane there. Up through into turn 15 now, confirm it, heavy on the brakes. Get right on that racing line, right on that apex, lay your claim to the corner, and coming out of Druid, it's a very nice overtake there. Locked it for the Ferrari. He's going to try and chase down to Bull here, but Bull's got problems of his own, as Conrad is going to be right there. He's going to peel off to the inside, try and get the apex of the first corner as we come into Old Hall. He's going to be tight to the curb, take a little bit less speed, but it's going to be the wide arc of that Ferrari that's going to keep him in P14 for now. We eagerly await, and what doesn't? Oh no, too much! A little bit too much there for Conrad. He's going to be going very wide and hopping across the grass in a little bit of a dance and a jig of his own. He's going to rejoin in P15, no drama, but he is going to get overtaken by Kevin. That is going to be P3 bronze for Conrad after a pretty good defense. Just cracked under the pressure, unfortunately, and that was his campaign. As good as done. Let's take a quick look at our podium runners. And in third place, we have Mark Hughes. He's trying to chase down to Carl Thompson in the Porsche. And so far is going to be one to watch. We see Coddard dropping down several positions. Let's see just exactly what happened here. Oh, big snap as he goes too much onto the curb. Luckily, kept the car in check, kept it pretty well behaved. And now he's going to have his work cut out for him. We look eagerly to the rest of the field. We see North hunting, trying to regain his former spot. It looks like, oh, in fact, up at the top, we're seeing a little bit of a battle go down. Let's jump over to that, because Hughes has just gone for a send through into Shell, or through the island bend and confirm through Shell, I should say. Now we've got P2 through to P4 in a locked three-way battle. Thompson's going to be the one to watch here. Of course, he's dropped down behind Hughes, but he has an opportunity to very quickly make things back up. He's going to dive to the inside before going back out. Go for a little bit of a spook. Try and put some pressure on. A little bit of a sneaky attack there. All's the same. All's fair in love and war. And no love lost between these drivers. A healthy rivalry being shown on track. Giving a little bit of a tease, but ultimately these drivers just want to have a real good race. And it's been pretty exciting here from the commentary box. We're only 10 minutes in. Let's see what Thompson can do here now. He's coming up to the line as we're going to be starting for him on to lap 6. He's so close to the back of that Ferrari. He's just trying to observe, trying to look for opportunities to get around the opponent car. There's the dirty air to consider. A little bit of outwash coming from Thompson. His aerodynamics are not playing so nice with him right now in the wake of the 296. Look a bit further down, we see a different battle for the lead happening. It's going to be Walker and Bull, with a Walker chasing down that McLaren very quickly. It's closed the gap quite substantially, and like with many drivers on this field currently, the game is now about putting on subtle pressure, keeping proximity to your opponent and allowing them to slowly get a little bit more frustrated, slowly get a little bit more anxious on the wheel, on the throttle. And that's when you start to see rash moves coming out and mistakes ultimately being made. Let's take a look and see what's happening here. McKillop, in fact, he's going to be sideways. And he's going to be limping, what looks like limping the car back through into P22. I don't know how long he's going to keep it for. You see Paul Wallace dropping back down quite a few places as well. He's going to be jumping into the infield. Unfortunate that wall hit. I think it was a wall hit from McKillop there. He's going to be seeing his Ferrari looking very worse for wear. And you can see Wallace jumping into the pit lane now. Going for a fairly early stop. But I think one that's fairly warranted if there's going to be severe damage to his car. Get your strategy cleared, get yourself out and back in the open. North. On the back of Aero. And Conrad is going to be joining him in the pits. Oh, what's that though? Aero is going to be going into the grass. Unfortunately, that's going to see him concede the position to North. And now North is going to be trying to close up the gap, make up time following his unfortunate incident at the start of the race. He's got a chip on his shoulder and a few seconds to make up. Gila currently sat up ahead, about a second and a half away in that V8 Vantage. So, what will time make of this fight? We shall see in due course. Down in the bronze realm, you have the one and only Walker, along with Bull. They're now traded places. Where yellow has come out, albeit briefly. That looks like David Center's car. The Lamborghini not feeling very at home on this circuit. And as he comes out of Knickerbrook and into Clay Hill, it's going to be a big time loss for him there. There's going to be some dust clouds coming out. Unfortunately, that is Tennant down in P18 right there. Only 24 cars now. But Tennant with the mistake is going to see himself drop down behind center, heading into the 8th lap. Murray's going to get very close to the back of Thompson, as Hughes has now made a getaway though. Murray is going to be the next car to watch, as we could see positions changing hands in the podium. So it looks like Gila is the next casualty. This track is certainly testing the limits of these drivers. Either that or the limits of the course, because a lot of players in this game of 4D chess sometimes, I'll admit, some of the strategies when you come out, I'll look at early pit stops and I'll think maybe a little bit premature, but when it all comes out into fruition in the race itself, and you see that car that pitted in so early cutting through the field with that undercut strategy, I respect it all the same. A lot of racers are unfortunately making themselves comfortable with some of the infield. Regardless, they continue to put up the good fight. They continue to race hard. Race fair and race hard. Those are the two core tenets. If nothing else. It's the standard you can pride yourself on to be as a driver. A few cars now have taken some stops here. For instance, you've got Broadbent, Payne and Wallace all in the green, so they have taken their mandatory stops. They are welcome to take more if they wish, but currently they have no further requirement. Murray remains on the back of Thompson. Of course, different classes, different worlds. He doesn't necessarily need to fight this fight, but that's not going to stop him. Going to remain focused. Keep the close proximity, although a little bit of a wide wash there from Murray. Maybe either not too comfortable on the brakes or a bit of dirty air affecting his braking distance. He's going to lose a fairly decent chunk of time. The driver we opt to look at, Dorigo, as you got Gila up ahead and Dibatini a little bit further behind, couple of seconds. Like the car between himself and Dibertini is Conrad. So Conrad playing a little bit of a blocker game. There's about a second and a half separates the two OM50 drivers. Meanwhile, we'll look back further. And as we've crossed the quarterway mark, we have ourselves a continued push, a continued battle. Murray and Thompson, they're doing a very good job of the current situation. And you have to wonder who is planning what moves right now. For Thompson, he doesn't necessarily need to do anything differently. Just put the solid laps down and the race results will speak for himself. As he's got 2 seconds between himself and Hughes, he doesn't necessarily have to worry about chasing and catching. But he still is under pressure to do a good job because there is a very familiar car in his rear view mirror. It's going to be Murray. And you can see, even just in that little rear view window, he's going to be sniffing around, looking for those chances, looking to take some pot shots at that podium. The racecraft recipe is going to be one of patience and one of careful timing. Drivers don't necessarily need to push themselves too hard in these moments of the race, because this is about putting in your consistent laps. You keep your head down, you drive hard but fair, and you get the mileage in. Short of a couple of cars who are in close proximity, everyone has, for the most part, kept themselves out of trouble. Although saying that, Dibertini has dropped down and is going to be finding themselves much further away from Walker than they originally anticipated. But short of a couple. And for North in the pit lane now. This segment of the race is now just about finding your stability in your position on this course. As the racers are finding a bit of a groove now, let's take a look at the overall standings and times. 20 minutes into this race, you can see some of the splits start to form, but big takeaways. Wilson leads, and by a very comfortable margin. Meanwhile, you have Murray leading the silvers, and Walker leading the bronze, with a very good display of driving from all involved. The big gap is in Wilson's favour here, because Wilson, well, that is going to be Centre running very slow on the infield of the track there. But Centre being overtaken aside, 13.5 seconds splits Wilson from Hughes. A really impressive, gotta say, really impressive run from Wilson here. He's absolutely just walking away with these last couple of races. And with these latest performances, Wilson has got quite the track record. 2 wins in a row. Can he make it 3 on the trot? Oh, what's happened to Dorigo? Let's see. Comes across the line, starts lap 13 into the first corner, and just kicks the tail out. Unfortunate for him there. But he is going to roll out off into the grass, so making sure he doesn't disrupt anyone's race. Good sportsmanship being shown, most important of all. Down in P12, but no casualties. Apart from a small wound to Dorigo's pride, I imagine. Murray continuing to put that pressure down, but also further down the field you have Bull, who, after a bit of a gap, has continued to push. Got back on his feet. Hunting Dorigo down after his mistake is going to put him right in that McLaren's crosshairs. Pollock is in the pits. North has now come out. Currently sat P16. And drivers are starting to consider their strategies. Time is of the essence, because very soon drivers are going to be jumping into the pits en masse. We're coming up to that crucial halfway point, and at least mathematically speaking, if you want to jump onto new sets of tyres, around the halfway point is the perfect time. Let's see what these racers have in store. The alternative could be that Murray's deliberately not trying to pass. He's just keeping Thompson in proximity. But where would the fun in that be? I do tell you what, where's the fun in that? Jump a bit further down. Alex North, having taken his stop, is now going to be on the charge for taking some positions back and starting to climb his way up the field. Let's see what this Vantage can do. Hot on the heels of Peter Smith. Wants to close the gap to that Porsche. Has to yield a little bit because Smith is right there. And it's the responsibility, as they say in most stewarding situations, for the passing driver to do so safely, to lodge their overtake safely. So North can't just throw the car in there. He cannot just throw the car in, expect to be given the space, especially if he's not significantly alongside. But North is going to get ever closer, and yet yields off. Just waiting for the optimal time. Oh, we have lost a car, unfortunately, so we're now down to 23 entrants. Out from 26 in the outlap to 23 here. Shame to see. Could this be North's chance? Very close on the back, heading into the chicane. Looks like there's a track warning going out for Alex there, and oh, he's gonna go for it. He's gonna go for it, all right, and he's going to through turn 11. That is going to be quite the fight, and Smith making contact with Finlay is, oh, actually no, believe that minor correction there. That was McKillop there. That was not Finlay, my mistake. But Smith is going to be making that contact, and he's going to be dropping even further down. So now 5 seconds split him and North. Walker heading into the pit lane now. Got to say, Alex basically fired the car into that chicane there. That's certainly a way of taking that corner. Here we are, Hero, P7. Trying to get past one of the silver class drivers in the form of Tony Hill. Tony has got control of this situation here. How aggressive does he want to play? Is he going to go defensive? Or is he going to remain committed to an ideal line? Watch him react to Hero's moves. Even if he's about half a second away, he still briefly goes to the inside. He makes that statement of intent to say, I'm going to defend from you. Welcome to the battle, but also welcome to the jungle. Let's see what these drivers can muster as we come up to the halfway mark. 32 minutes to go, 28 minutes in here in round 9 of SIMseniors Group 2. Gila and Bull are now both in the pits. They are taking their mandatory stops. The Hero going to the left side, trying to peek. Not being afforded such a window. Blinders are shut on Hero's attempt for P6. As we come through to lap 18 very shortly, we're seeing a few more cars now head into the pits. In particular, Chris Wilson, our current race leader, now being overtaken by Hughes as he starts his lap 18. Hughes is going to be the one to inherit that massive gap. Murray is going to do the same also, jumping into the pits. Was in that very good looking spot of P4. So his main in-class competitor is going to be Tony Hill, and also Dorigo could be a good yardstick for how we're doing in terms of relative pace. Wilson is now back out on the track, having taken his stop, and he's out in P5. That is a testament right there to how much time he was ahead of the rest of the field. Because, ladies and gentlemen, P6 after a pit stop, only 4, and oh, big slides in the background. Who was that? That was Goddard. And Goddard barely hanging on for dear life in that car right there. Unbelievable stuff. This is going to be now a little bit of a different dynamic to this race, because you've got some unlikely leaders as things go. Smith, Colomb, Finlay all in the pits. Aero and Hill are now going to be in podium contention. At least prior to the stop, they are in P3 and 4, and you can see Aero heading into the pits now. A lot more cars are going to be wanting to get their stops complete. Get themselves out of this precarious strategic window. Keep themselves out of trouble. A lot of cars currently sat in the pit lane. Who's going to be out first? Going to be the McLaren. It's going to be Finlay's just going to leapfrog Colomb in the pits. It's just going to pip him out. Let's look around this field. Let's see what we got going on. You've got Murray now passing the pit lane on that 19. And you've got Wilson now up into P3. Post-stop, I'm gonna say, a hot summer's day, no wind. This is ideal conditions for some track racing. Let's take a quick look at Mike Bull. Where is this driver? I know we've jumped on him a few times, but has been a bit of an enigmatic presence on the track. Tennant is now in. Tennant is now in the pits alongside Tony Hill. And that means Wilson is going to jump up into P2 now. And then 35 seconds between him and Hughes. Not going to be enough to keep him at bay. It's a whole stop. Oh, Colomb off into the grass. Is going to yield to Bull. Is he going to keep his fight on? Or is he going to concede and hold back? Colomb yielding the position to another car. That is going to be Dibertini on a lap ahead, so naturally blue flags are coming into fruition. Starting to see a little blue flag waving, as now everyone has started to find their own space, and only 3 cars remain unpitted. Only 3 cars. Hughes, Goddard, Dibertini. They all got to take their stop sometime. And time is going to run out before they pass by that optimum window. And they start to lose out on valuable seconds. Not through their driving, but through their strategic choices, which is the harder pill to swallow sometimes. See Peter Smith on the back of Colomb here. P3 in the bronze class. Where will this driver end up? Let's find out, shall we? Dorigo into the pit lane. We're dropping down quite a few places. A free position is a free position. There you go, a little bit of a timing table hiccup. As for a brief second, it looked like Wilson completely crashed out, disappeared, and then re-entered the session again. Roll in. Where is McKillop right now? McKillop is, in fact, 7/10 off the back of Tennant. And a driver to watch. Things have not gone his way tonight. Safe to say, he's definitely got his own motives for how he's going to approach himself the rest of this race. But 25 minutes to go, and nobody's showing any signs of slowing down. The yellow is going to be coming out, but I can't see the source. And oh, never mind, I can see the source. That is Barry Finlay. What happened there? Looks like he just lost the rear. Dibertini now into the pit lane along with Goddard. Be unfortunate to see Finlay drop. McKillop has now got it past Tennant. tendency to have dropped a little bit on the pace front. Nonetheless, yielding to blue flag. Good respect. With all of this, Murray is ahead of Thompson, and Thompson! Thompson with a big slide into Britain's. That's going to see him yield to P5 and P6, as Hero is going to jump as well. Unfortunate for him there, as that was a big blunder, costing him dearly. But now only pit stop needing to be taken is from that of Mark Hughes. Only driver yet to take his mandatory. And to be blunt, it looks like Wilson is closing that gap by as much as a couple of tenths per corner. So he really needs to decide and consider when his pit window is going to be. If he's going to go for new tyres or not. I think he might be, because the one lap pace so far, compared to some of the other drivers on this field, it's not quite meeting those same standards that he did at the start of the race. He's about half a second off of his best lap currently. That best lap is a good benchmark, but it does sometimes highlight the tyre fall away. We are around final corner here, and it looks like instead of taking the bend, Hughes is pitting. Hughes is now pitting. Very unique pit lane setup here at Oulton. Instead of a long run, a walled run, you just have a chicane. You just have a barrier chicane, and it works pretty well. Got to stomp on the brakes. But let's see here, Wilson coming up to the line and now reasserting himself into P1. We'll see where Hughes comes out. Where he comes out is going to be a massive indicator for how this strategy has gone. The number 495 Ferrari. But in due time, we will know. 23 seconds prior to the stop. After the stop, it's going to be 27. So fairly even keel. Fairly even keel now. With the final 20 minutes underway, all drivers having taken their stops. It is a straight shot to the finish. From this point onwards, the strategic window has closed. And we look to Paul Wallace, as he's half a second behind Dibertini. If he gets this and starts to close up the gap, he could even chase down Gila by the end of the race. But the big standout in silver has been Murray. Murray, what a drive. What a drive from him so far. Great running from all the racers out on track tonight. Some big standouts too. And then we also got to talk about Walker, because Walker has really done well to make up time. He got involved on lap 1, got pushed all the way down to the low P10s, and has had to fight his way back up to now P9. So really some great stuff, some great driving work being put on from him there too. Thompson, after that little bit of a blunder through Britain's, is going to have a bit of a chip on his shoulder and is going to have a bit of pace that he needs to work out. On the back of another Porsche of the same class, of the same family. The 992 spec Porsche GT3. Hunting it down like something fierce. But what say we to a good old-fashioned duel on the track? As so many cars are clumped into this one single space. Something has got to give. Something, or someone, I should say, has got to give. Wallace almost had the move down on Di Bettini, but it didn't surface fully. It didn't lock in. Time to race is very fast approaching in terms of some battles kicking off. But where we currently are now is we're going to see a bit of a trade coming through. Or Centre is off the track, briefly spooking the likes of Thompson, but he remains committed through the outside. Eero is going to be peeking back round. He's going to look for the opportunity, but he's not going to go for it. He's going to yield back in. Sees a potential window, realises that it's not going to be the way that he wants. But Bull is off. Unfortunate for him here. You can see just taking that slide, taking a bit too much. And oh, he's made contact with another car. That is Melon. Brutal to see there. No fault of his own. Melon's round. And is now 12.5 seconds behind Tony Hill. Tennant's going to yield out of the way. Make sure there's no conflict through blue flag. And then you have Wallace, 296 GT3. Despite apparently being a bit of a weaker pick here at Oulton, it's looking like an absolute rocket right now. It looks to the left, looks to the right. On the back of that McLaren, as he's seen to many times before. Where is he going to go from here? He's been wanting that position for a couple of laps now. And like any driver, or certainly if I was in his position, my patience would be wearing a little thin. I'd start to be looking at options that maybe weren't viable a few laps ago, suddenly becoming a lot more appealing. Murray's on close charge for podiums once again, with North just up ahead. A formidable opponent is that Aston. You can even see that Murray is going to go a little bit wider than North, try and avoid the dirty air, but also just balance his grip. Keep an eye out around his opponent so he can see where he lands after he goes for an overtake. When he decides to go for it, if he decides to go for it, we have yet to know, in truth. Final 15 minutes now, final quarter. Again, stops are taken. Stakes are set. And the last 10 laps or so are about to begin. 28 laps in. Currently 30 seconds clear of Hughes. Wilson sits as your leader for this race, with Murray leading for silver and for gold. Or win for bronze even. Kevin Walker. Kevin has kept himself out of trouble. And that is the most important thing in this position. He's kept himself out of the fights. Kept himself out of major tussles. And he's not going to let himself get spooked. A strong character behind that wheel. And he's currently 3 seconds away from Melon in P8. But he's also 13 seconds away from Goddard behind. And if you want to do some maths, about a minute clear of his next closest opponent. North has seemingly had a bit of a mistake. Let's see what happened here. A little bit of a bump coming in from another car. Is he having a bit of a control issue? Because he seems to be going extremely slow with minimal damage to speak of. No, there we go. He's back on it. Maybe a little bit of a mistake. But drivers are running out of chances now to go for moves. That's the crux of our current race standing. Drivers are looking for chances. Drivers are looking for moves. And there's only so many opportunities left to make them. Before long, Aero or Gila or any other car, they're going to be running out of chances to get an attack down. And a centre closes in on Broadbent. He goes way too wide coming out of the chicane. And he's going to drop himself out of the second range again. It is just the consistency for centre here. As he yields off again. Tough to see. Tough to watch. Keeps the car controlled, but I have to wonder if there's a consistency or a setup issue or something. Because the pace opportunities are there. Absolutely is there for him. Peter Smith going to be dropping off behind the back of McKillop. I think he's conceded that he's not going to be catching up to Walker in the time that it takes to reach the end of the race. So maybe there is a little bit of concession involved. Maybe there is a little bit of a problem. Either way, he's not going to be hyper-aggressive. He's going to keep the proximity to McKillop there in P14, but he's not going out of his way to make any moves. Meanwhile, Barry Finlay coming up to Tennant here, and Tennant is yielding. Tennant seemingly with no contest. He's yielded the position. Now I wonder, is this strategic play? Is this strategic? Or is this just not wanting the fight? Could be seeing a different class car and deciding, let's not go there for giving the spot. Fairly little quarrel. We can jump around a little bit and see how the rest of this field is doing. Because the field is looking a little bit panicked. For some, this is looking like an opportunity to get the race done and keep out of trouble. But for others, it is a sign that they need to get moving. We have 10 minutes to go. And the field has seen little in the way of movement, but that's not stopping drivers for looking for potential opportunities in taking a spot. A few of the racers flowing around, flowing down the circuit. A quick look again at your times. We are 50 minutes into this race. 10 minutes to go. And the timings of the field out in full. As there is a severe issue for one car. That's Dorigo. We can get a little bit of a replay there. Starts with a little bit of a slide, turns into a multiple spin, and luckily doesn't have any trouble with the rest of the field. Keeps it out of the way, but cascades. That's certainly not a corner you want to be losing, because that is a corner that is going to give you much more setup and carrying good speed through Island and then into Shell. Well, nobody wants to be spinning. It's especially rough if you get caught somewhere like there. Rejoining on a corner. And with significant lack of pace.
to some of the other drivers you are trying to chase down. See Dorigo respecting the blue flag. So that's going to be Ira. That's going to be North. Both filing through. The time ticks down minute by minute. And with each passing lap, each passing corner, the fates and slowly getting closer to being sealed. For championship runs, for race runs. And in isolation, a few cars are going to be quickly making it clear that they are sealing championships today. So Hughes is in second, but he's 30 seconds off in terms of pace. But that means, relative to the rest of the field, in looking into some of the positional standings, this could mean a bump up for the likes of Wilson to the podium. Meanwhile, we look a bit further around, we see Gila. They're going to be going around the green McLaren of Broadbent in a way to avoid traffic. But Goddard is right there. Goddard is looking like a prime target. And for a split second, it looks like Gila had him. Maybe there was a bit of disruption on Broadbent's part. Maybe Broadbent was the reason that they wasn't able to fully get round and commit to the move. But whichever way you slice it, now Gila is about second and a half behind Goddard, and there is only 6 minutes to go, folks. Some drivers have done a real good job of making their own pace. Melon, unfortunately, has had a bit of an issue of things. Let's see as he comes through. Bit too much grass on the outside, and that's going to be him sliding out into the infield, just in front of the ad boards. Almost a bit of an unsafe rejoin there, but keeping it to the inside and some good avoiding action by another car. Live to drive another day. Melon now in P9. Walker up in P8. Excellent stuff from the bronze class runner. McLaren also showing some pretty good pace. That car's speed is bringing itself up to be a pretty formidable opponent. As things draw to the final 5, there is one driver I want to give special mention to, and that is Murray right here. Kept his cool, kept his head on, and is currently sat P3 overall. In a realm of the timing board, you would expect the gold class runners to be dominating. Instead, Murray has staked his claim to the podium and is not yielding. Is not overly aggressive and is not pushing themselves too hard, so much as to make a mistake. So he keeps it together, but for now, North is on the back of Eero. Wants to at least get it back in the top 5. We're not seeing some big sends like we saw in corners prior. And I've got to say, listen to that engine noise. Whoa. Got Colom and Finlay trading blows, trading places. McLaren up into 16th. Colom taking a bit of a pace hit. Doesn't seem to be able to follow now that he's behind. Not being able to make up ground, that's for sure. Gila could be another target for a top 10. The checkered flag is going to fall very soon, folks. Let us know in that chat who you think your personal driver of the day is. Maximum of 1 per class, but what a great run from many racers out here today. As you see Goddard going deep into the grass out in turn 15. That's going to be handing the Aston a position on a silver platter. Let's check in with the leader. Where the leader currently is they're about to cross the line for their second to last lap. Where does this leave us? This leaves us with a grid that has mostly calmed down and kept to itself. It's a grid that doesn't seem concerned with external pressures so much as they do just bringing the race and the car home. Closest we've got is North, who is potentially lodging an attack. But if he wants to get it done, the time is basically now. This is the last lap for him, potentially. The checkered flag could come very soon, and if it comes too soon, he'll have a lap taken away from him that he cannot challenge for. Good yield, good blue flag shown. So he is going to be keeping himself out of trouble. So that's Goddard going into the grass again, same corner. Behind the braking point, maybe. Bit tough. There you go. So as it's a hot, summery, bright afternoon in Oulton Park, the leader is starting their final lap now. Melon has made it round Walker and is now currently sat in P8, taking it from the bronze runner. Another bronze is going to be Conrad Payne, back on the edge in terms of grip and back on the hunt in terms of positions. Conrad is going to yield as Mike is now down behind him. There you go, fair respect shown. You can see that Eero just behind. Let's see what happens between two. Carl Thompson is going to be going on a hunt. He's looking nice and sharp as a trade has happened between Walker and Gila. Gila's out ahead. Doesn't want no smoke, doesn't want no trouble, but North is going to be going for the fight. And he's going to go for the P5, but there you go, folks. The checkered flag is about to fall. We are out of time here, and as he comes through to finish lap 37, Chris Wilson, for the third time in a row, best undefeated streak I've truly seen. The leader has finished the race. And what a race he has had. Amazing stuff. That is going to be Goddard, unfortunately not making it past Walker. It was so close. There you go. Smacks it into the wall. Sign that he's done. Murray, unfortunately, has dropped out of the podium. But still in P4. And over half a minute clear of his next opponent. Great stuff, amazing stuff shown by all. There you go, Thompson and Murray coming in P3 and P4 respectively. Cars challenge the notion sometimes, but there you go. That is going to be a lot of this field now coming in, coming through. Only few cars remain, as there are quite a few drivers now jumping into the finish. Is that Centre in the pit lane? I can't tell if he's pitting or he's finishing. The game's showing that he's got the P symbol, but that's only the P symbol and not the checkered flag symbol. Let us know if you've ever encountered that with ACC Race Control in the chat, folks, but otherwise, there you go. Now, final couple cars coming through here. That's going to be Gila, that's going to be Colomb, and then there's going to be Finlay, and that is time, folks. So Wilson is your winner for the third time running, and now we look to the standings and we see what could come of it. Big things that can definitely come of it. It's going to be a pretty dicey final round for some. There's going to be championship fights. There's going to be challenges for podiums, and I cannot wait for it. So your winners are Wilson, Murray, and Walker. They are your winners here today. And you can see, unfortunately, those who did not make it to the end, drivers like Centre here, drivers like Pollock, Kellenberg, and Devine. Game time is over for them, but a great run they had until the end, and that is where we drop for tonight. So to you all, thank you for watching. Next week, it's going to be the final round, and I want to emphasize that, folks. That is it for Season 5. And in Season 5's finale, we are going to talk about Season 6. We are going to talk about some of the changes to the system we're bringing for the new season coming. And we will be seeing you very soon for Suzuka. But for now, folks, take it easy. Take care of yourselves. Drink some water. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.